The question is, how often do you get to the end of it? Those of you who actually love your little children that you've written and want them to be published, cover your ears. Rarely is the answer. When I'm reading for a magazine, I'm reading to find stories that are the best possible story that I'm going to pay money and put in this magazine because my readers are going to want to read it. If I'm reading for a hard science fiction magazine and you've written me sappy romance, and maybe it's the best sappy romance in the world and it's going to go on to win the Rita Award, which is the Romance Writers Award. But if it's not hard science fiction, I'm not reading past the first paragraph. Because I'm going to know, and I'm either going to know because you told me in your cover letter, in which case I don't have to read any of it. Love those. Or it's going to come out pretty darn quickly in the story. Incidentally, that's also why I'm not going to send you a detailed rejection letter. Because I don't know that this is the best story in the world. All I know is there was something in the first line, paragraph, page, whatever, that made me stop reading it. And once I've stopped reading it, I'm going to go on to the next one in the pile. Your job as the writer, if you want to get published, is to write the best opening line you can possibly write. The line that's going to make me want to go on to the next line. And then your job is to write the best second line that you can possibly write. And then the best third line, all the way down till you hit the end. Because my job as the editor is to read your story until I can put it down without caring. So, yeah, of those 300 to 500 that the average editor is going to see in a week, he's not going to read all of them to the end. He may read 40 or 50 of them to the end. Even that's going to take a long time because there's a lot of reading in there. Yeah?
I have an idea for a non-fiction book.
Excellent. Go write it. Sorry. He said, yes.
I have written it, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to select an agent or a publisher or what kind of legal protection they need to do. It sounds like not much.
Okay. The question was, I've written a non-fiction book. Yay, you. Finishing a book, let me tell you, even if it sucks, finishing it is a remarkable achievement because that's a lot of words you put in order. Cool. He said, I've written a non-fiction book. I don't know what to do with it. What you want to do is you're trying to sell it. What you need to do is research. Now, you probably did research for the book anyway. Well, this is a continuation of the writer's job. Having written the book, the writer's job is now to get it sold. And the research means you have to look at the publishers to see who's publishing something like what you've written. And you've got to find 1, 3, or all of them. There, look in the bookstore, look in the library. Amazon's a decent search tool these days. I have problems with Amazon, but it's decent, and they've got listings for almost everything. Find the publisher that's putting out stuff like what you've got, and see if they'll take over the transom submissions. If they say agented only, then you got to do the same research for your agents, and your agent is going to then know the market and know where to send it. I only know one nonfiction agent, and that's mine. No, agents can work with more than one author. Otherwise, they'd die really quickly of starvation. There's a book called The Literary Marketplace, which lists publishers and also lists agents, I believe. Give that a read. They'll list the categories, and most of the agents have websites, although fewer than you'd think. A lot of agents I'm finding don't have websites just because they don't want to encourage people on the web to send them more stuff. They're getting too much. Talk to friends. If your book is in a specific genre or field and there are conventions, you might want to try going to those conventions. In science fiction, it's real easy because there's so many science fiction conventions. And you can meet authors there, and you can meet editors, and you can meet agents. And the personal touch never hurts. If you're sending something to a magazine, having bought an editor a drink in a bar is not going to get your manuscript sold. But it may make the editor slow down a bit when he's reading it, when you say, hey, we were getting drunk at whatever convention. Always remind the editor, never assume that the editor remembers who you are, because he meets way too many people and his brain's just not going to hold it all.
If he's drunk.
Sorry?
Particularly if he's drunk.
If he's drunk. Yeah, I'm one of those oddball editors. I actually don't drink alcohol, but I tend to act drunk with the rest of them just because it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, from my days working in a library where we would receive unsolicited books for publication, self-published manuscripts and all, I thought I'd throw in 2 more of your how not to do it. One is if you are writing a self-published book of poetry, do not begin with a copy of the letter that you have sent to the prestigious Nobel Academy submitting your poetry for the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize in not literature. Second, if you do that, spell prestigious right.
I can't do this one justice. I'll just real quick. As a librarian, the way to keep from getting published is to send your book directly to the library. When you're self-publishing the book and it's a self-published book of poetry that's really, really bad, you send it to the library. Or when you send it to the agent or the publisher with the cover letter that you've submitted, with which you've submitted it to the Nobel Academy for the Nobel Prize in Poetry. Which brings me back to a whole other category I didn't even get into, which is cover letters and submissions and, it never really helps the cause to tell an editor he's not the first. It also doesn't help the cause to tell the editor why the others rejected you. Including the back rejection letters is just bad form. And we now have computers and we have search and replace, and you know, we're big boys and girls, and we know that odds are we're not your first choice just because there's so many magazines or book publishers or whatever are out there. We know you probably sent it somewhere else first. It's okay, we'll get over that. But when you get the rejection and now you're going to send it to me, make sure you replace every piece of personal information in the cover letter that needs to be replaced. All of them. There are several in any well-written cover letter. The manuscript that came in the mail addressed to Analog Science Fiction and Fact at the correct address. And on the inside, it says Gardner Dozois, who is the editor of Asimov's, editor of the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, which is another magazine. And the cover letter had the address of Weird Tales. And the salutation was, Dear Ms. Rush, I have a story that I would like to see you publish in Artemis Magazine. Yeah. There are a lot of different little pieces of personal information in every cover letter that you've forgotten about. Read it again. Make sure you get them all right. Also, don't try to trick me, the editor. Don't put page 27 in upside down. If I'm feeling a little snarky, I'll put a post-it note on it saying this page inserted upside down. If I'm feeling nasty, I'll turn it right side up and turn a different one upside down. Basically, you put this page in upside down to see if I've actually read that far in your manuscript, when I've already told you I'm only going to read as far as I have to. And if I have to read this far in your manuscript and then I find that the page is upside down, I'm going to stop reading. Don't do it. Yeah.